Welcome back to another video. So, I visited Europe quite a few times, and while getting to know the locals and strolling through the streets, I couldn't help but notice some cultural differences that this region has compared to the United States. Some were actually expected, like how I'd be hearing Celsius degrees during discussions about the weather, and some were surprising, which I'll be telling you all about now. I've based this list off of observations I've made from countries I've been to, so there may be a country or two that doesn't quite fit the description. Without further ado, here are my top 10 surprising differences between the United States of America and the continent of Europe. Here we go! 1. Time and date are written differently in Europe. AM and PM aren't used, instead they use military time. So if a store says that they're open from 0900 until 1800, that means that they will close at 6 p.m. I find this quite practical, but it can be difficult to learn in the beginning. Dates aren't written the same either. Say you're trying to write April 22, 2023. In the United States, this is the standard form it would be written in: 4/22/23. First comes the month, then comes the day, then comes the year, as it is pronounced, and a slash is used to separate them. In Europe, it's written as so: 22/04/23, the 22nd of April, 2023, from the smallest unit of time to the largest. A dash is used between the segments. In most languages, the dates are pronounced this way as well. Speaking of days, number 2 is that in Europe they start counting the days of the week from Monday at midnight, not Sunday like in the United States. Now let's talk about some norms. Number 3 is that it is completely normal and common not to own a dryer in Europe, and instead use a drying rack. Another norm is that a surprising few adults have a driver's license. While in the United States, everyone excitedly waits for their 16th birthday so they can begin issuing their driver's permit, in Europe, this simply isn't the case. I've met many adults, quite past the legal driving age of 18, who've simply never felt the need to learn how to drive. After all, when you've got a great public transportation system available to you, why would you? This is less the case in rural areas outside of the main metros and trams, but many countries even provide running buses in suburban and rural areas. In the US, the streets are set up in a way which makes this quite impossible, so most families own 2 vehicles to help them get around. Number 5 is that the general population is more comfortable with nudity in Europe than in the United States. In nearly every country in Europe, there are naked statues in the city streets, and people take it as just another part of life. People grow up seeing these bodies and are quite accustomed to the human form, while in the United States, most of these things would be censored. Do you think that it's a positive thing that children are exposed to nudity from such a young age, or a negative thing? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Traveling abroad is simpler. In the United States, there are countless states in which you can drive for hours on end, and you still haven't left that very state, let alone a different country. Since Central Europe is quite compact and broken up into smaller countries, visiting a nearby country is not such a difficult feat. Only 18 out of the 50 states have an international border, while in most countries in Central and Southern Europe, you can drive more than a few hours in any direction without ending up in another country. This of course excludes Iceland and Malta. And with the Schengen Agreement allowing residents to come and go as they please between the borders of many European countries, travel there is a breeze. I've even heard from Norwegians and Finns before, "Yeah, I've been abroad. I've been to..." "So, have you been to Sweden?" "Yeah, but that doesn't count, does it?" While in the United States, most places have a public restroom that's open for use to anyone that may need it. In Europe, it'll come at an extra charge. Need to tinkle while you're out shopping or waiting for your train at the station? It'll cost you. In Europe, a pharmacy is a place where one can pick up prescription drugs, buy some over-the-counter medications, and purchase some basic hygiene and medical products like toothpaste and Band-Aids. In the United States, you can expect a smaller version of your local supermarket. The pharmacy will likely be equipped with a selection of snacks, drinks, frozen goods, a variety of school supplies, small toys and games, art supplies, cleaning products, household items, an entire aisle of just seasonal items, which is changed every so often, pet supplies, an aisle with just greeting cards, another aisle for hair coloring, drugstore makeup, hence the name, and then prescriptions, over-the-counter medications, and basic hygiene and medical products. You better have a Walgreens or CVS card ready. This next one only goes for countries that are part of the EU. The eggs in EU countries are not kept in the refrigerator, but on the counter. Anyone who grew up in the United States will surely ask, won't they get spoiled? I personally have never heard of such a thing before traveling to Finland earlier this year. The answer is no. Under European Union regulations, all chickens must be vaccinated against salmonella to prevent contaminating the yolk, and the outer protective layer had to be stripped, like in the United States. This means you may find a feather or two stuck to the shells, but you likely don't have to worry about getting sick from your eggs either. Last but not least, politics is less two-sided in Europe. In the United States, the country is quite split between the left and the right. Republicans as a whole favor a weaker central government on censored speech and are generally more religious, therefore hold more conservative views. Democrats generally favor a strong central government, advocate for environmental protection, and are more liberal-minded. During presidential elections, there will be two true candidates left standing at the end, one Republican and one Democrat, and you can either vote for one or the other. While discussing politics with people from different European countries, I've discovered that it's quite normal in many countries to have a variety of parties and candidates, each advocating for their own cause. Most countries have at least 5 major parties, and the split is more mild, to say the least. It can take more consideration to decide who to vote for, as more than one candidate may resonate with you, and you may agree or disagree with several policies from different parties. This is unlike the US, where one tends to swing one way or the other with most of the policies of a running party. That's it for today. Which one of these differences surprised you the most? Do you prefer the American way of doing things or the European? And if you've been to the US and Europe, what would you have added to this list? Write it in the comments below. Tack för idag, vi hittar, tschüss and auf Wiedersehen!